Yes. Legends, how's everybody doing? We'll be analyzing the situation for the price of Bitcoin. How is everybody doing? Make sure to destroy that like button if you do enjoy the content. Let's go. How is everybody doing? Make sure to destroy the like button, guys. If you do enjoy the content, we'll be analyzing the situation here for the price of Bitcoin, and then eventually talk about a lot of news, right, that we do have throughout the last few days, and also the big news from today, right? We got the Fed press conference, also interest rates in about 6 hours from now, guys. So this is going to be a volatile moment. I think we all know that there's probably a very likely scenario that we are not going to be seeing some rate cuts today. However, that volatility will possibly come with the Fed press conference. Now, we need to understand the price of Bitcoin, where we at right now. It's a very trappy area, right? Do we expect a massive blow off move here to the upside as we are hitting this major resistance, right? Do we see another big wave that is just going to explode? Or are we going to finally get some more sideways momentum and even a slightly higher correction for the next coming days? What we need to know is the most important levels of confluence and try and analyze where we at with the waves to see if there is that possibility of a massive breakout from yesterday's highs, right? From the highs of Friday, sorry, not yesterday's highs. We are above yesterday's highs. Are we going to manage to break out here successfully? Or could it be a liquidity grab? Taking a look at the heat map, well, eventually we do have lots of liquidity above $98,000. Now the question is, will it be a successful breakout, or will we just fake out from the highs? As we've had this movement to the upside, we are getting very close to hit those highs, right? Increasing the probabilities that those highs will be taken at some point, right? So the question is, what could be next? What kind of price action could we be forming here? And can we get a successful breakout, or could it be a fake out? The idea here of forming a possible flat is still on the cards, guys. On yesterday's video update, we talked about a few scenarios where, we could hold on this range, come up here to the upside to claim those highs, but overall looking for a corrective structure. Instead of massive continuation here, still in this fifth wave as we are hitting this major resistance, right? So for the moment, we're not leaning on this idea that we will break out. However, who knows? It might just explode out of the highs. But we are going to understand the lower time frames, the most important levels of support and resistance that we do have in this range, to see, are we going to get rejected? Are we going to form that ABC flat? It is still possible from this level. It is possible also getting above the highs, create that fake out, and then sweep up the lows. And it does seem like that there is lower probability to actually blast off here from this range and get to $105,000, right? Or all-time high. Could we hit 98, 99, maybe even $100,000 on a pump here? We just need to be aware of good levels of resistance that we do have to the upside to give that chance for the flat structure, right? Where we are looking for the price to get above $98,000, $99,000, right? Can we get rejected with the overall range idea here as we are hitting that higher time frame level of resistance? Now, of course, we are uptrending, right? This in the end did look like a move that was very corrective, and there's a few reasons why to believe that this range looked corrective, is because we came all the way up here to hit above the golden pocket from the Fibonacci of this lower high of Sunday to the low of Monday, realizing that there's no strong impulse formation here to the downside. Now, yesterday we did form a beautiful double bottom scenario. This was also a possibility, looking at a possible contracting move where you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You form a double bottom here and we get a movement to the upside. I need to give a shout out here to Aiden in the Legends trading community, jumping into that long position yesterday, basically a double bottom scenario, and looking for the price to get that move to the upside, and overall waking up this morning with some pretty interesting profits. I also took this trade yesterday as it was a very good reaction from the lows. Okay, so we love double bottoms, we love swing failure patterns, right? And this was a very, very valid trade. Now, I was in a short position here, got stopped out from the short position at break even. Okay, managed to get into a short right there. I'm no longer in that short position and got stopped out. And I'm very interested in short positions though, I have to say, but the momentum is looking very bullish. Got into a long position in this area, also another long position in this level over here, and then yesterday's long position right over here after creating the swing failure pattern. So overall short trade out at the moment, but I am very interested in a short trade, just realizing where we at, okay? Just realizing where we at. Now, we're going to create some plans here, okay? We're going to create some plans. Anybody that has been longing, of course, throughout the last week, for me, it's day trading setups, right? We take out the highs, I'm out. Get into a long at the lows, we take out the highs, and I'm out. Get into a long here, I've taken most of the profits of this long position. Overall, we are uptrending, but you just need to realize, if you are longing in this area, you just need to be aware that after taking out the highs, we have that risk of the pullback, right? It's just make sure to pay yourself, right? You can hold some of that long position without a doubt, but you just need to understand the amount of resistance that we are heading into, right? We cannot ignore this situation, regardless if it's going to explode to the upside as this fifth wave hasn't finished, which doesn't look too attractive. Okay, we were talking about this scenario yesterday and the last few days. then it doesn't look too great for the price to really extend this much, right? Form an extensive fifth wave. I mean, it is possible without a doubt, right? It seems like that the markets are just so bullish. This is it, guys. We're heading to all-time high, no pullbacks, right? And we're just going to go up and up and up with a very shallow pullbacks, right? We just need to be aware of the situation of where we at, right? Understanding here the market structure and the probabilities of the different movements. Could the market just explode out after today? Also, we do have the press conference, right? Fed press conference. Is this gonna, just imagine getting a rate cut today and exploding out. It is possible. There is some good bullish news. Okay, China confirms plans to begin trade negotiation with United States. The S&P 500 did get a nice little reaction pump when we got this out very early this morning, depending on where you are. So we need to analyze Bitcoin, right? What are the most important levels? What are the different scenarios that we could be looking at here? Looking at the chart, okay, we have a blank chart and we're going to be analyzing the situation here all together. Let me just go quickly through the comment section, say hello to the beautiful community, and we'll dive in straight away, okay? Buenos dias, my man. I got Jackie Wood here. My mother always giving support, as always. Schwarz, how are you doing? Oh, hit the like button, says TS Pedro. Much love to you, my man. Let's see how many likes do we have already. I'm sure we are above 100 at least. We are above 100, 400 people. We'll be analyzing the situation for Bitcoin mainly, guys, okay? There is some news that I want to go through later on. I'm not too much into the news, as you know, but it's always important to realize what's going on worldwide in the crypto space, and, just take it into consideration. Let's go through the comment section. Nuclear war, says Bitcoin crash. My goodness. Yeah, well, we don't want that, right? We don't want that, my man. Yeah, we ain't going to go here with the war situation and politics and rest of it, okay? We ain't going to touch that field. India and Pakistan has already started. Wow, yeah, I mean, this is the thing that's been going on for the last couple of weeks. What can we say about this? But, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure if there's too much attention on this worldwide. Anyway, we'll leave that for we ain't going to go in and touch that on the stream, okay? Reza, hi Andy, thanks for the live stream to update the market situation. Much love. Reza, much love to you. Let's hope not Bitcoin crash. I've been considering selling some of my spot Bitcoin, but I'm not going to, because I'm already okay with cash, okay? And we do know that Bitcoin is a revolution, right? And we never know how bullish it can be. So just overall looking at the charts, obviously I want to get into a hedge short position, okay, because I do realize the rejection that could happen at this range, but we just need a little bit of more information. The fact that we pumped here all the way up to almost hit the highs, there's two scenarios here eventually, right? There's two scenarios. There's the extreme bullish case scenario where you're just going to absolutely rip. There's the not too bullish case scenario, which is, forming a kind of a contracting move to the upside. And that's how you finish your fifth wave. That is also definitely a possibility, where it's just wedging out here, just wicking out all of those people that want to short the market, which I understand could be definitely the situation. There is the flat scenario. And all of these scenarios, the main reason why they are so attractive is when we do take a look at the retracement that happened throughout, beginning on, from the Friday highs, when we take a look at this pivot low, we did retrace all the way down to the 0.88 Fibonacci, right? We did retrace quite a lot here. And, when we consider this a possibility for a wave two, well, it does decrease the probabilities when you do retrace too much. Wave twos usually retrace to 50%, golden pocket, even 7.8. On Bitcoin, it's at 7.8 a lot of the times. When we consider the massive bullish case, when you start hitting the 0.88, then it decreases the probability, and what you could be looking at is some kind of a corrective structure continuation, right? Instead of a massive blast off in a wave three. This is the whole point of this of the analysis here, right? The blast off to the upside to get above $100,000 and continuation, right, with a big massive wave 3, really decreases the probability here. Of course, it could happen. You can never say it's not going to happen, right? But the probabilities are quite low. So overall, with this movement to the upside, that is another thing. When we do come all the way up here to the 0.88 Fibonacci, it also decreases the probability of this being a wave 2 and wave 3, right? You're going to get a massive breakdown. So that already decreases the probability here for a wave 2. And what you're looking at is some kind of a corrective structure. So we are definitely taking into consideration the ABC flat scenario, okay? And as we get this information of this pump, there are several ways on how the price action can move, and that's what we're going to talk about here on the stream, right? For the moment, it is looking pretty okay. We've had a very, very bullish move here. This could be classic Elliott wave theory, where you have your wave 1, wave 2, a massive wave 3, your wave 4 right over here, retracing in between the 382 and the 50% Fibonacci. Classic for your wave 4. And then the price takes out the high. Then possibly you get that pullback, okay? So it's going to be looking very interesting, this scenario, for this 5th wave to finish at some point, right, after taking out the highs. That's what we're going to talk about throughout the stream. Could this be a 3-wave structure already? And now you got the major move down. This is also something that we were speculating in the Legends trading community about the possibility of forming a lower high here. We do have some bearish CVD divergence on, we got bullish CVDs and bearish CVDs, okay? Throughout Bybit US dollar tether perpetual here, we do have some bearish CVDs from this pivot high of Friday to this lower high. So, lots of people on Bybit with US dollar tether, wanting to long here very, very aggressively. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the different type of structures that we could be forming here. But first of all, before we get to aggressive Elliott wave theory on the lower time frame, which I do know a lot of people, the people, some people out there like, come on. It's a little bit too complex. We're going to leave a bit of Elliott wave theory later on, guys. And let's first of all talk about the levels of resistance that we do have apart from that golden pocket, right? We do have the golden pocket, which is where we at right now. We just struggled at the 6.5 Fibonacci throughout Friday, and we got that pullback of a few $1,000s. We're back above that level. If we do revisit the highs, which we do see there is a high chance right now, okay? Because, considering this a lower high for a wave 2, it's not looking too attractive, right? You don't want to see your wave 2 retrace all the way up to the 0.88. You need to start considering possible flats if you are going to reject, and not wave 2s, as the corrective structures have higher probabilities. So taking out that high is very, very much possible. I am aware of front running the high and taking out the lows. That is definitely a scenario as well. But most importantly, above Friday's highs, what resistance do we have left, right? Because we do have that point of control of this range from 2024 and 2025. The golden pocket from all-time high to the low. So we're just kind of chopping in this range, right? We almost coming to revisit the Friday highs. The movement up has hit the 0.88, which is giving us a high chance that all of this is corrective, and that at some point we are going to take those highs. I want to know what kind of resistance we do have. Do we have any daily levels, weekly levels, point of controls above the highs from Friday where the price could reject, right? And treat that level as a reaction zone and look for a possible short trade if we do react at that guideline, okay? Because all of these levels are guidelines that we need to take into consideration. So let's go off here with a blank chart, of course, and really analyze what do we have apart from the point of control of the entire range, which is a lot, right? This is basically where we're trading at. It's a higher time frame level. So on the 4 hourly, 1 hourly, you can create those wicks and attempt to break out. This is why this level is so interesting. It doesn't matter, you know, on the 4 hourly or the daily to get price action above 98. This is the classic zone where you do create those wicks. On the lower time frame, you're going to have that impression that it's breaking out, but you could reject and leave a wick behind, right? This is the kind of trappy zone where you could be pumping very aggressively and you hit certain levels of resistance. And if you don't close a daily time frame candlestick, 4 hourly candlestick, it just ends up in a fake out, right? It ends up in a fake breakout to the upside. So what are the most important levels on the chart here that we do have above Friday's highs? You know, that's what we want to understand. When we need to take a look at this price action, right? This price action right now is irrelevant because we are above all of that price action, okay? So the price action that we need to look at is basically above the Friday highs. And we only got kind of this wick over here, right? On the higher time frame, we do have a little consolidation, which eventually, you know, that's many hours that we're looking at the 4 hourly time frame. There's a really nice consolidation between Thursday and Friday here, okay, which eventually is giving us a nice high volume node. Now, what is interesting about this high volume node, right, which I do have on the chart, naked point of control right there, is that we also have a daily level exactly where we have that naked point of control. Okay, so when we go to the daily chart, we do have a daily level. Hang on a minute, what's going on here? Why am I going so back? Right, there's a daily close and open right over there. That's exactly where we got that consolidation. So important level without a doubt, which is sitting at $98,300, $200 zone. Okay, so level to definitely take into consideration when we do zoom in at the lower time frames. Okay, what we do have is the Friday highs, right? Friday highs right over here. A little bit of a local double top. We need to talk about the possibility of a rejection here as well, guys. Okay, because we do have a little bit of bearish CVD divergence very, very locally here. Very, very local bearish CVD divergence, mainly on Bybit US dollar tether. Right, you got lower highs, higher highs right there. And the target zone is taking out those lows. So yeah, a little bit of interesting bearish CVD divergence here on the formation in this local consolidation after the pump. So anyway, let's go throughout that that important level that we do have, which is $98,200. When we take into consideration that there is lower probability that this is a wave 2 right over here, right? You got your consolidation right over here that we are mapping for your wave 4 possibility, and this possibly the end of your wave 5, okay, which is, you know, very important to note. This could be the end of that wave. If it is not the end of the wave, right, you got your consolidations right over here, consolidation right over here. The fact that we broke out and we retraced so low, the probabilities are, you know, for a big massive breakout here in a wave 3, you know, that they are low. There is low probability, especially when we consider the higher time frame level of resistance that we are hitting, right? We were talking about this the other day, of the similarities that there is from the previous cycle, right? There's no doubt in my mind that we're looking for all-time highs at some point this year, despite any deep pullback, okay? You know, I do think that there is a high chance that in 2025 we do head up to all-time high eventually, right? And break out and maybe go to, you know, who knows, right? 200K, 300, right? Overall, let's get to all-time high first of all. And it does look pretty good with this movement to the upside that we have, which is a 5-wave structure, right? All good, all nice. We broke the downtrend. We moved up impulsively. The question is, are we ready for that corrective move? And as mentioned, very, very possibly yes. And this is low probability when we consider how we moved up all the way up here to $98,000. So we're just looking at the, nobody knows what's going to happen. I know the perma bulls are going to say up only, right? We're going to go to 99K, right? 99K seems interesting. When we do consider, what is interesting about this range, as mentioned, which is, the market makers are not making it easy. You have from the lows of the range and the highs of the range, 0.88 Fibonacci touch and 0.88 Fibonacci touch, right? And as we have double 0.88 Fibonacci touch, what happens here is that this gives you low probability for a blast off in a wave 3 here, 4 and 5, right? We head up to $105,000. And it also gives you low probability for a wave 2 and a massive wave 3 here to the downside, okay? It just means low probability. It doesn't mean it cannot happen. So what you're looking at here is a continuation of the range. This is why, as mentioned the other day, kind of corrective structures here, are very, very attractive, right? They are very attractive based on this scenario. Realizing that an impulsive move down right now is unlikely, and an impulsive move up is also unlikely. So you need to start thinking of corrective structures in this range with a possible rejection eventually, when you consider also the amount of resistance that we do have, right? Which is that golden pocket and the point of control of the range of 2024 and 2025, right? So if we were to break out this level of resistance, we need a lot of volume. We need definitely a lot of volume, okay? We have that, the flat idea. The flat idea is definitely very attractive, and it could be where it happens today, right? Because we do have interest rate decision and we have the Fed press conference. Usually these events bring volatility, right? They bring, big wick to the downside and then a massive pump, and then a massive dump, okay? Be prepared for what could happen here. But this might as well be in confluence with the idea here of forming a flat, okay? An ABC flat. So when we do look at the movement down here, and then, I understand that this could be the lower high for the flat. This is the thing about the flat. The minimum target for the flat has been hit already. It would be ideal to see common flat price action, which is taking out those highs of Friday. I mean, this would be the ideal scenario. And this would be your crucial point to take the decision, right, for that short. If we're looking for a big short, I mean, at least a move of, $5,000-6,000, right? We're talking about the big moves here. We'll go through lower time frames later on, guys. But the possibility of a lower high here is also there. This could also be the flat. It all depends on your risk appetite, okay? We're just slightly above that old daily level that we broke up today. We're trying to get above it. Very, very choppy price action. So the rejection from this area is without a doubt a possibility. What is interesting about this movement is the 3-wave structure. The 3-wave structure here that we have formed, and that's what you want to see in a B wave, right? If you are looking for a flat, which the minimum target has been hit, which is at 0.9 Fibonacci, you want a 3-wave structure to the upside for that flat, which has been formed already. 𝗕𝗏𝘆 in the Legends trading community was speculating on the possibility of this scenario, which I did like very much. and you're kind of trying to catch, you know, the local double tops here, which is without a doubt risky. I mean, this could be an impulsive move down, and this price action, three-wave structure in a corrective move. But you know, this is kind of trying to catch the top and being very defensive. Local double tops here are worth the chance for that rollover, considering that we have bearish CVD divergence. Considering that we do have bearish CVD divergence, you know, very, very choppy three-wave structure to the upside, considering the lower time frames here, that we do have the A wave, B wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could it be possible? I mean, this is the thing about local double tops right now, hitting the golden pocket. You know, it's without a doubt a zone that you would speculate on that short position here and be very defensive just to take out the lows, right? You just, you know, what you're looking at here is internal double tops, considering the possibility of an ABC scenario here. And what you want to see in your C wave, which is on the formation, is a 5-wave structure, you know, which does look very, very attractive. From that corrective move, you have your 1, 2, 3 sideways consolidation, and then your 5th wave here, completing that C wave, right? You're looking at Fibonacci, golden pocket, most common, very nice. Local double tops, get the movement down, be very defensive with your stop loss as we are uptrending, because you know, you overall, when you take a look at the different scenarios here that could happen, is from the lows of yesterday. I've just jumped in on the lower time frame, guys. You gotta, I'm sorry, but we really like the lower time frames. You know, when you take into consideration Elliott wave theory, you do have your perfect wave 1, 2, your 3rd wave with high volume. And now that's the overall discussion here, right? Is this a wave C or is it a wave 3? And your wave 4 retraced to where it needs to retrace when you consider a wave 4, which is the 38250% most common area of Fibonacci for that wave 4, and that the price will manage, okay, with a, you know, double 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, get that movement to the upside to finish that 5th wave. You know, this is the decision zone. As we are uptrending and we broke out with this massive wave, you know, you need to consider the bullish case scenario without a doubt. You know, we are uptrending since the downtrend that we formed since Friday, right? So we've broken the downtrend that we had since Friday with a big, massive, fat pump, right? That we can consider a wave 3. Best scenario, well, you know, longing the 382 50% Fibonacci zone, stop loss at the golden pocket, right, from this low to the high, and you're really targeting the highs here. But the short also becomes attractive at this area, local double tops, ABC scenario, and you're possibly looking for that rollover. And the only reason why this becomes attractive is when you consider the possible flat structure, right? Which is the movement down here, the movement up, already hitting the minimum target for the flat. And, you know, you just want to consider that, you know, maybe that is possible, right? Where you form that ABC flat, you start rolling over, sweeping up these lows. And I would still be very interested in looking for a long position. But anyway, today's a big day. Today is a big day. We want to be cautious with that volatility, right? You know, we just never know how this is going to perform when we take into consideration the news of today, right? Interest rate decision and Fed press conference. I do think that we're going to see more volatility when we get the press conference, in my opinion. So we just want to be a little bit cautious with the situation. One other scenario that could happen is, as explained, we've hit the 0.88 Fibonacci, which is telling us that all of this could be part of a correction, right? Whether it's sideways or taking out the low or not, to finally take out these highs at some point. The fact that we've come down as well here from this pivot, because we're considering this the correction, we got the first initial move to the upside, 0.88 Fibonacci touch, also tells us that at some point the market will sweep up these lows as well. So it's like range highs and range lows. I'm interested in shorting the range highs, and I'm interested in longing the range lows. So, I mean, with that conclusion, we know there's liquidity sitting at this area. And when we do hit the range highs or range lows, you create that famous swing failure pattern scenario, right? Where you're just going to jump up, claim that liquidity, and possibly turn around or move down aggressively, sweep up the liquidity here, and create a swing failure pattern from these local lows of last week, which is definitely also an option. Let's talk about, the long position from yesterday was this double bottom. Okay, we, also on the video update yesterday, we talked about the possibility of forming some kind of a contracting move, or regardless, still, some kind of a three-wave structure in this area. Sideways momentum, a little bit complex, but a double bottom here, based on the contracting move or not, was also an option. Double bottom here, maybe not hitting these lows. If you double bottom from here, your stop loss is extremely small, right? As Aidan provided here, as soon as that low was hit and we were recovering, entering that trade, stop loss beneath that low at $93,300, just realizing it's a swing failure pattern, a double bottom here, does make sense to sweep up the highs at least, which eventually we got that, fantastic pump early this morning, which was very, very nice to see. So let's get ready some scenarios here, because it's all a liquidity game, guys. What we need to understand, it's a liquidity game. And when we do take a look at the liquidity, lots of liquidity above 98K, lots of liquidity below 93.4K, right? The lows from yesterday. Lots of liquidity as well to the downside. So which liquidity will be fetched first? And which one is fetched first? Then we can look for the reversal, right? So major levels of confluence to the upside. We've got a daily level, and we do have a little consolidation from the 20th and 21st of February. It's just ever so slightly above the Friday highs, right? Naked point of control. What would be very interesting, if we do consider this movement to the downside as a double zigzag, where you have a zigzag here as well. So you got the movement down, little consolidation, move down, bounce, take out the low. When we consider this a three-wave corrective structure, if the price has moved up in a three-wave structure here, gets a corrective move, okay, and then manages to move up here very aggressively, as we do get that FOMC meeting, okay, this is what's going to be looking very interesting, okay. Look, if we do move down from here, we are considering this an impulsive move for the moment, right? We consider it an impulse. If the price rejects down and overlaps the golden pocket right over here, it will invalidate the possibility of a 5-wave move down, right? We're already not considering that this is, the wave 4 of an impulse. However, it can move to the upside and take out the highs. And what we want to consider is a double zigzag scenario, which eventually would be part of an ABC flat. This is going to be, preferably we do get that leg down here. It might look bearish, but then pump throughout, I don't know, the FOMC, the Fed press conference. And just want to be aware of that scenario, right? If we were to move down here, because we do have a three-wave structure to the upside from the lows of yesterday, three-wave move up. If we get a corrective move right over here, and the price were to manage to move back up in a three-way structure, I would be considering a WXY double zigzag. This would be crucial if the price moves down so much here, preferably without taking out these highs, then this would be a confirmation to take that short, either in a double top or the rejection from the naked point of control and the daily. And, we could be targeting down the lows here, right? We could be, this would be your main target, yesterday's lows and even these lows, right? Most common target for the flat, right, is taking out the lows. If it is going to be a running flat, well, that's another scenario, which you would bottom out somewhere in this range and then continue up. But overall, the main idea would be targeting the lows, especially when you sweep up that liquidity. So preferably, I like the idea that we take out that we haven't got much time, because there's about 6 hours from now. I'm not sure if we're going to form this overall price action in 6 hours. But the other case scenario is when we consider the flat, you take out this high, you correct down, and then you move back up and you take out the highs from Friday, and you still form a kind of a zigzag move in your B wave. Because, the overall idea here is getting more information to speculate on this scenario. So we need that information, regardless if this is going to be a double zigzag or we take out the highs, forming a 5-wave move up in an A wave, 3-wave corrective structure, and then we get that volatility maybe, throughout the FOMC meeting, right? We get above 98K. And then this is the zone where we do reject, regardless if it's 99 or not. But this is going to be like the guideline, right? It's either swing failure pattern from the Friday highs as an option, or hit the naked point of control and the daily level, which we have at 98,300. These are the only two guideline levels that you would consider for that short trade. If the price action breaks above those levels with a massive, skyrocket move, and this ends up in a wave 3, then eventually there's no short to be taken, right? If you manage successfully to maintain above the levels with a solid breakout, you do not take the short, right? It's crucial to get that rejection from those highs, right? From these highs of Friday, or actually hit 98,300. It's very, very interesting, because that's, where we do have the liquidity eventually, right? You got big resistance and you got the liquidity. So it's going to be, today's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, guys. I don't think I'll be live. I might do something with the Legends trading community or update them as we, getting that movement. But sweeping all of that liquidity above $98,000 would make sense. And the next price action that happens is going to be crucial. It's going to be very, very interesting. From yesterday's lows, for the moment, we got a 3-wave move up. For the moment, we have a 3-wave move up. So there are a few scenarios here, as I mentioned. Take out the high, form a 5-wave structure, get that corrective move to the upside very aggressively, and that is your 3-wave structure to then really get a massive move down very, very quick throughout tonight and tomorrow. We're going to be running out of time. I'm not sure. There's not enough room to form all of these waves before the meeting anyway. But it's going to be quite interesting. It might happen. So in a nutshell, the most important level is the 98,300. Crucial level. Also, you can use as guidance the Friday highs. If you're above the level, not interested, you just look for higher. There's no more to it, right? This could be a wave 2. Unlikely, but it's possible. If you maintain above those highs, then you just look for higher levels, right? We trade the levels, we trade the reactions. And, despite of me being bearish, which I'm not, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, but despite getting this video out of the resistance that we are hitting right now, right? You just can't, you need to understand that this is a macro resistance level, right? The golden pocket, you got the perfect chart from the previous cycle, just to give you that, fresh example, right? It's just an example of looking at the golden pocket, which is, the most respected Fibonacci retracement. So you need to understand that, this is where we at right now. We did move up very aggressively in April, and it's something just to be aware about, right? Despite that, we jumped into a long position yesterday based on this double bottom, right? It was provided here in the Legends trading community, right? Despite looking at the higher time frame resistance, that doesn't mean that we're not looking for longs in this range. We are very much uptrending. The market is strong for the moment. We're happy to look for long positions as well, right? If the market gives us that opportunity. So, but overall, very interested in this level over here. Very, very interested. So anyway, let's go right away through the comment section and say hello to the beautiful community. See what's going on, guys. Are you ready? Are you bullish? Let me get a poll here ready. Okay. Will Funk be bullish or bearish, guys? Let me know right away on the poll. Do you think it will be bullish? We're going to get some interest rate cuts. Let me know right away on I want to see the votes, guys. What do you think, if it's going to be bullish or bearish? Let me know. What are you going to think here? And I'm sure it's going to be a 50-50. Like all of my polls are a 50-50, guys. It's either 55-45. Ooh, we're getting a lot of mixed sentiment here. As always, guys, it's pretty crazy how most of my polls are always a 50-50 or a 55-45. Strong battle here between bulls and bears. Nuclear war, says somebody here in the comment section. Anyone in gold? I do have some gold. I did buy gold. Somebody told me about the S&P 500. What is my thought? My thought on the S&P 500 is that we'll be hitting all-time high in the next coming months. And that has to do with this movement to the downside. Somebody did ask me on Discord. Sorry, I can't remember here. It was Val. Val, my man, I'm not sure if you're watching here the live stream today, but you were asking, a little bit of Elliott wave theory, and we're not going to go too back here. I do think that, on higher time frame, the S&P 500 is topping out on a very, very macro cycle, and that we should be seeing some kind of multi-year correction. But eventually, we ain't going to speculate on that with recession and rest of it. But more locally, it makes more sense that the highs, all-time highs, are going to be happening very likely this year. Very likely this year at some point. And that has to do with the movement down on the S&P 500. Three-wave move to the downside with an epic bounce. Okay. Already hitting the 0.88 Fibonacci, if I'm not mistaken, regardless if it hasn't hit it. Yeah. Yeah, this is the most bullish thing that you can identify from a big major crash, a V-shaped recovery, and it's invalidating already the possibility of a strong impulsive move down, meaning that all of this is corrective, and it's either going to be part of a, WXY, you form a triangle later on here, or I mean, this was already an ABC, and you got a massive V shape already, you correct down and you move up. Regardless, the S&P 500 looks bullish. I mean, we could probably get an example from the previous crashes here. Yeah, this one formed a 5-wave structure. Yeah, this one formed a double zigzag. You got a zigzag down here, move up, zigzag down, and then massive move to the upside. The C19 crash doesn't count because that was just a big straight drop down. Well, potentially you do have that 3-wave move. There was a little bit of a 3-wave move here on the C19 crash. And then massive rally here, already hitting the 0.88 and just getting a V-shaped recovery. You have one right over here. There was a little crash here in 2018. A little bit of a big pullback on the stock market. You can see how it's mainly a 3-wave structure. Movement down, consolidation, movement down. You did not get follow through. This bounce already retraced, overlapping the lows, giving you a higher probability that you're going to come back up to the highs here, right? Because if you get a 3-wave move down and a 4th wave, you don't want that 4th wave to overlap, right? Eventually that pivot low of the first initial, crash. So, I mean, this would be the clearest example here on this scenario. 3-wave move down, the bounce overlaps the pivot low, also hitting the 0.88 Fibonacci, and just getting that movement to the upside. So this bounce is actually pretty damn bullish on the S&P 500. So if we were to get those pullbacks on the stock market, I would consider it a possible bullish move. For the moment, it's only being a 3-wave structure. There is a risk of a double zigzag, right? Where you have the zigzag move down, you have the 3-wave move to the upside, hitting the golden pocket. Yeah, golden pocket right now is where we're getting that reaction for the last few days on the S&P 500. Two scenarios. The most bearish one has been a double zigzag throughout the next coming weeks. Sell in May and run away, as they say. Might get that drop here in May, who knows? Or consolidate, form another wave up. That would be extremely bullish. Any movement down here, you would be looking for a correction to then just follow through here for the next of the year. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting stock market in the next coming weeks, how it develops. If you do manage to consolidate here and create one more wave up, then you do have a nice 5-wave move to the upside. Then the movement down will be very interesting to consider a higher low. Of course, if this is the high and you start dropping down very aggressively, well, what we could be looking at here is a double zigzag WXY. It would still look good. You would still look for that recovery to the end of the year. But this is not the moment that the stock market is going to go into a depression, in my opinion. There's very likely going to be another high before you get any type of depression market crash. We did have the crash already, the V-shaped recovery here, hitting these fib levels and overlapping the pivot low from the first initial drop already tells me that all of this is not an impulsive move down. And worst case scenario would be that double zigzag down to just take out the lows here, but eventually, get that recovery at some point, or create one more high after a consolidation, corrective move, and then look for the next wave to the upside, right, to take out the highs. It looks corrective. That's the whole point of that, right? So yeah, polls are 50-50 all the time, my man. High class. 240 votes. Let's get those votes rolling in. Yeah, 48% bullish, 52% bearish. Pretty insane. All the polls, my community is very, very, very mixed, with being very, very bullish or very, very bearish, regardless if it's taking out all-time high for Bitcoin in 2025. Yes, no. I think most of the people do say yes. I did ask that poll. I did ask that question on a poll. We have more votes on the poll than likes on the video. You're all slacking. David, my man, that is very true. Let's see how many likes we do have. Lots of votes. Lots of people can click the votes on the poll, but where is the clicks on the like button? We got more votes here than likes. 180 likes. Come on, legends. I'm going to go and take a quick hike. I wish that we do get at least above 200 likes when I come back from my hike. Okay, I'll be back in, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Let's see that like button exploding above 200. Okay. We made it. We made it. We're above 200 likes. Let's go. Let's continue. I mean, it's still low, but who's the guy in the background? Looks like your younger brother. This one right over here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is AI generated, right? Hit the like button when I came in, says Valerie. Valerie, much love from Hawaii, Bombay. Much love to you, Valerie. 203, bro. Okay, shall we take a look at some altcoins? It's not necessary to cut rates yet. They slowed QT last meeting, and if I simply just stop QT today without cuts, then pump we get. Yeah, I mean, we never know how it's going to play out, right? No cuts. Yeah, we do know that there's high probability and no rate cuts. Pump it, baby, says Mattia. Mattia, much love to you guys. Hey, if you don't know who Mattia is, CBM, Crypto by Mattia. Go and check him out, guys. He is here in the comment section. Crypto by Mattia. Shout out to you, my man. Let's give him a shout out here like he deserves. Crypto by Mattia. Let me just get him here because I need to give a shout out to the legend himself. All right. If you don't know who he is, make sure to follow. Very good quality content. Make sure to go and follow Crypto by Mattia, guys. Shout out to you. All right. Let's get him here in the pinned comment. There he is. There he is. Incredible quality content, guys. Okay, let's go through the comment section. See what's going on. My opinion, cut rates take different from taxes. Yeah, we might get I think it was 95% chance that there's not going to be any rate cuts, but who knows, right? It's just like the charts, you know, there's a low probability in blasting off from this level, but it might just happen, right? You might have an extensive fifth wave here that gets to $102,000 and then we correct. So we just want to be extremely cautious with eventually, yeah, this is resistance, but resistance are there to be broken. There is the possibility of this fifth wave being finished with Friday's highs. But as mentioned before, right? What if, which I don't think anyway. This is a fresh wave 1, wave 2. You're in the formation of a wave 3 here. You're going to blast off above 100K with the FOMC meeting. You know, I cannot say that this is not possible, right? It's, you know, as a technical analyst and you know, day trader mainly, it would be foolish if I said it's not possible, right? You need to say it is definitely possible. I think there is a lower probability for this scenario, right? We just form a higher low here and we blast off and just continue this insane bullish rally that we're having since the, the bottom in April, would be rare with these shallow pullbacks, I have to say. Would be rare, but Bitcoin's unstoppable, as they say, right? And the more, the highest probability, in my opinion, despite taking out those highs, as mentioned on the previous video, shorts look very attractive, and especially understanding the resistance where we're at right now. So, and you got just above the Friday highs, a daily level, and the naked point of control. So it's your guideline, really. Preferably we do take out those highs at some point. It would be so nice. I would consider looking at a reversal, taking out the highs. If you do reject from the level, it's a possible short entry. You're really targeting the lows. If you do get that movement to the upside, movement to the downside first, sweeping up these lows first, I would really be looking at another pump here to the highs. You want to be cautious though here, based on a larger pullback though. I think it won't be an easy long position, but you could take into consideration the sweep of the lows with that value area low of the trading range. And if you manage to get back above these lows, I would just be a little bit more aware if the price does waterfall here, because you are very much aware of a larger correction, right? It starts getting dangerous here when you form this kind of momentum to the upside, right? To try and long, as you're waterfalling down, if that were to be the case, right? So you just want to be a little bit cautious on that situation here. Just purely based on a slightly larger pullback, right? I would be quite surprised, even though it's a long entry, if you do SFP from the value area low and those lows of last week, that it's just a trading setup, right? If you do recover back above, you got an entry point, you get the bounce, you protect. But we need to be aware of a larger move down here to sweep up all of the lows. It starts getting a little bit risky if you're moving down very aggressively. We know that we do get the staircase up, elevator down, right? And when the price decides to drop, it just drops very aggressively, right? So it's not a moment to really believe in big swing long trades all the way up here. But the best level to get that reaction would be the lows of this range. And if you break it, then eventually we are looking at this higher low over here, which is very interesting, with a naked point of control that we have from a consolidation, also sitting at 91,200. That's just sweeping up all of the higher lows. That would be an interesting level to take as a guide, right? If you were to roll down to that level, if it does manage to recover above it, you could get that nice bounce from that zone. Naked point of control, you've got a nice little consolidation here, and you're sweeping up all of the higher lows. So, yeah. Get ready. Tonight, we do have the FOMC minutes press conference, sorry, not minutes, in about 5 hours from now. What time is the FOMC meeting? It is, my man, I got into longs already. The shorts just look very attractive. I'm more interested in shorts right now than longs, I have to be honest. Day trade longs are good. We did look for, we did get into a long position yesterday. More day trade long positions all the way up to local highs. There was a long setup here that was taken in the Legends trading community, and it's day trading longs, right? You could have those longs where you never take profit from lower, right? Still in longs, still in longs, still in longs, still in longs. Boom, I didn't take profit, right? We know the story. So if you watch the channel throughout the last 2 weeks, We talked about the high probability in taking out the local highs on every single analysis throughout this range, right? Shorts are looking very attractive at these specific levels, right? If you pay attention, got into a long trade here, long trade here, long trade yesterday here. Okay, so you know when we analyze the local structures, we did realize that taking out the highs was a high probability scenario. So however, if you did take longs throughout the last 2 weeks, you want to take profit at the highs, considering this, considering where you're at, right? Anyway, I'm not here to discuss any of this, bro. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. But this is higher time frame, my man. This is higher time frame. We could wick here, try and get above the highs for many days, okay? It's just understanding, right? Just like here, you trade 2 weeks in this zone and then you get the pullback. This is higher time frame perspective, okay? So, you know, it's just part of the game. Let's leave it that way. But internal long positions were very attractive. We talked about this. I've actually got it here on the chart. I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to prove also the trade that I'm in, that all of the profits have been taken already at the highs. But, you know, all of this range, we mentioned about the corrective kind of price action that we are forming to take out the highs. Corrective structure to take out the highs. So it's all about day trading. Here, getting into swing long positions to expect all-time high. If I'm getting into any longs, I'm going to be taking profits, you know, at the highs. Let's leave it that way. And shorts look very attractive. Comparing to 2021 don't mean anything. It's just an idea, but history does not have to repeat itself. Very true, my man. That is very, very true. It's just looking at the similarities as well, right? It does not need to repeat, but we have moved very similar when we consider the 2021 price action, right? When you do take into consideration the, you know, Q1 of 2021 and the drop of May, and then the consolidation, and then this pump, you do have that consolidation also here, late 2024, early 2025, the drop, the wicks at the lows, forming this descending wedgie structure as well, right? And it's just the similarities that they are here in this price action, right? And then the rally here, where the price is getting a reaction, right? We've been trading at this level for the last few days, so the reaction is there, right? Taking out the highs or not later on, the Friday highs, right? So like I mentioned, right, you might claim the highs, hit that massive level of resistance, which is a daily level and a point of control that you do have here, and then get the pullback. You know, if we get this price action, we just have to come on the channel and said, you know, we were aware that this was big resistance on the higher time frame, right? Despite wicking at the highs, right, hitting 98, 99, it doesn't matter. It's a big level of resistance. You could be trading for 2 weeks in this zone and then get the pullback, right? However, I'm still interested in jumping into long positions here locally, right? If the price action gives me the reason. You know, latest one was this one yesterday, and the other day was this one last week on Wednesday. And this one was mentioned on YouTube, giving you that possibility of a flat scenario here. And you take profit at the highs, right? You know, you break out the highs, that's it, you're getting out. It all depends on your strategy, right? So it's been 6 months. Empire Trades, my man, much love to you. How you doing, my man? It's been 6 months now since I start trading, but not profit, not even a single penny. Bitcoin Crush, it is extremely hard. You need to really plan your trades. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto Princess, much love to you. If you haven't checked out Crypto Princess channel, she does interviews, a lot of educational channel. She's here right now in the comment section. I will very likely be doing an interview with her, maybe going on her channel, maybe, who knows. Much love to you, Crypto Princess. Smash the like, Aditya. Real Boss Man, all right, yeah, I see it. But I'm bullish because market cipher, green dot on every time frame. Crypto face was showing and we in bullish uptrend to the bullish uptrend. So the trend is your friend. Without a doubt, my man. You know, we are very, very bullish. This is why we are, you know, when we analyze the local scenarios, the thing is when it's going to be bearish, you just get the drop, right? You just get a massive drop, but there's no doubt that we are uptrending, right? We are uptrending. We realize the possibilities of, you know, we might form another higher low, you know, it might just break out, right? It is very, very much possible. Or, you know, even taking out the highs and forming some kind of a, you know, larger range corrective structure, regardless if you're going to have the possibility of flats, depending on how the price action moves, right, throughout the next coming hours. Right now, we do have that scenario, which is we got the pump up, hitting the 0.88, which is already a minimum, you know, flat target. So, you know, if you do not take out the highs, this could form a lower high at the golden pocket, you know, which is always a short attempt, right? If you're day trading this, you get into a local double top because you give the flat scenario a chance here. If you either trigger the golden pocket or you trigger the local double top, considering that this might be an ABC or it might be a 1-1-2 setup, even though it's not looking too interesting right now, I have to be honest, because your second 1-2 here is much larger in time and price action. So the ABC speculation here is attractive to take out these local lows, right? Depending on your trading style. But if you were to get into the golden pocket or the local double top here, speculating that this has been a three-wave structure, and when we talk about this being a three-wave structure and we zoom out and we consider that larger ABC flat, you've hit already the minimum target for the flat scenario, which is the 0.9 Fibonacci, 0.88. You got above it, already hit the flat target zone. And this is when you need to take into consideration the larger context, right? Where you zoom out and you realize that a flat is possible, right? This is what, you know, you zoom out, you do the higher time frame analysis, and obviously, you know, when we take into consideration the higher time frame analysis, you either take the high or you don't take the high. You hit the 0.9 Fibonacci, which is already your minimum target. So as you develop that price action, and you understand the lows from the drop that we had since Friday to the lows of yesterday here, and the price action from the lows of yesterday so far has moved up in a three-wave structure, and that's what you want to consider inside of a B wave. In a B wave of a flat, you want three waves. You got the three waves. If you form three waves, what you're looking at is the speculation of the price retracing and finding resistance in between the 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci, right? Because if this were to be the top of the B wave, as you moved up in three waves and you're speculating on an ABC flat, it's all about understanding your perfect. I mean, there's never a perfect entry, right? Well, you try and find a perfect entry depending on how strict you are. But you got the 3-wave move to the upside. This move down looks pretty aggressive. If you move up in a 3-wave structure, coming up between 50% and 7/8 Fibonacci, and you analyze the local time frame, you could speculate that maybe it can be a second wave and you break down in a third wave, right? To then, really come down to the lows, or it could be a running flat. Regardless, it doesn't matter, right? But you're looking for that movement down. I mean, this was something that 𝗬𝗏 was speculating also today, that I liked very much on his analysis, which is this scenario right over here. Right? This could definitely be a scenario, right? We got the movement down of today, and this could be an ABC movement, right? And when you analyze the very local time frame, we could squeeze up to 97.1, 97.2, right? And then look for the rollover. This could be already that 3-wave move up. So it all depends, when we day trading, guys. I know a lot of people, it's stay long, we're going higher, or, it's time to short. It's all about understanding the local price action, and that's what we try and do best, right? If you get into a short position here, you want to be defensive, right? This is not getting into a short position and having no stop loss, right? Which a lot of people cannot manage, right? Really looking for that, good entry, stop loss above the high or the golden pocket. It doesn't matter, right? You need to have a little bit of good risk management. Stop losses always are, you're always going to get hit. It's inevitable to not get hit. 50% golden pocket. Analyze this movement to the upside. That doesn't look extremely bullish for the moment. Very choppy. Could be a 3-wave structure. It could roll down to claim the lows. That would be your target 1 zone. Could it break down or not? As soon as you double top from your entry or the golden pocket, regardless where you entered, you're getting the movement down. Now what you want to see is follow through. You want to be defensive on this. If you don't get follow through here, then this could be a multiple 1-2 setup. I don't like it too much. It's getting a little bit overextended. But you need to realize also the bullish case scenario, right? So you can't always be very, very bearish or very, very bullish, especially if you're day trading. Because on the other side, hey, this could be a 1, 2, 3. It's the 4th wave right over here. You're waiting for a 5th wave to, take out Friday highs potentially, at least the highs of today. So you can't always stick to the very, very bullish case or the very bearish case, especially when you're day trading. You need to take both scenarios into consideration. Eventually, if you're speculating that this is a wave 3, you're interested in the 382 50% Fibonacci zone. Stop loss at the golden pocket. 382 50%. Stop loss here. You're looking for the highs. You want to be defensive. You don't want the price coming back down to you. You could speculate on a double bottom. That would still be a possibility of an ABC, and then you rally. So you got a possible re-entry at the 50% double bottom scenario. Good risk management, stop loss. If you break through, you're not interested. It's just really adapting. It's not. You need to be very. When it's the trading hour, you just need to be extremely focused and understanding both scenarios, right? Right now, at this moment, it is difficult to say what is the highest probability with this movement. There's many scenarios. What I would really enjoy watching, as I explained at the beginning of the stream, is that if you do get that movement down and you overlap the golden pocket from this pivot low to this pivot high, you're no longer looking at a wave 4. This becomes directly a 3-wave structure. And this, well, it might break down in a 5-wave move, or it might find support. And then if we do get this rally, I'm going to map this scenario, and this is the moment of confirmation. Double zigzag, and I'm looking for a WXY. that will be the moment, regardless if that happens, you know, potentially today. I mean, it might be very fast. It might not form like this as we're drawing. It might be much faster than this drawing, because we do have that, you know, the press conference, right? The FOMC. It might happen much faster than this. So you might get that movement down and very fast and instant bounce. But this no longer will become an impulsive move, because after this three-wave structure, if you retrace too much down to the golden pocket, this no longer will look impulsive. And this movement up is where I am interested. You know, this would be a confirmation for me that what you're moving up, you know, what you're forming here to the upside is going to be a WXY, double zigzag. And you know, as I understand the potential of that flat structure, that's only if we do retrace down to the golden pocket from this higher low that was formed yesterday to the pivot high. Only if this zone is touched, I will understand that there is extreme high probability now that what I am looking at is this scenario, depending on the next information that I do get with the local price action. So if it does hit the golden pocket, what I am looking at here is a double zigzag. And a double zigzag is a corrective move, and I would be labeling this as the potential B wave target. And the levels that I'm interested to short is the rejection of the naked point control or the daily or even the double top. Well, the risk to reward is massive, right? You can get stopped out 2-3 times here if you want, because you know you can get into a 6-7 to 1 risk to reward on that short. So it doesn't really matter getting stopped out once or twice on the attempt if you're managing risk here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, I will stay awake. I'm going to focus with the Legends trading community later on, and we'll analyze this scenario very, very carefully, right? I know unexperienced traders will be like, you said it was going to reject. You said it was bearish. Not at all, you know, not at all. You know, I'm very much aware of, if we do take out this local high without getting to the golden pocket, this could be an impulsive move and you just correct down and you just fly throughout the FOMC, right? Or it's just really understanding the local price action, which is not easy, of course, right? Whoever's unexperienced is going to just see a big fat mess. So yeah, anyway, that's just a little explanation on that. Exactly what I see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with no overlap bullish, says Real Bossman. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this local move to the upside has given us a lot of information. A lot of information. What would be more confusing is you get the zigzag, you don't hit, you form a double bottom. I mean, there is a long setup here, because this could still be part of your fourth wave and you create a fifth wave. You know, there's a nice little long setup if you double bottom and you hit the 50% Fibonacci. There is a long setup here if you react to the 50% Fibonacci. And what is interesting as well, you know, we might get that here on stream, is the big high volume node. Oh, sorry, my bad. It's not from this range. It's a naked point, your weekly naked point of control, which is from this consolidation right over here, right? High volume node, which is a weekly naked point of control from last week. It's a very, very good level, right? We did actually get a small little reaction today on that retracement. So considering the impulsive move from yesterday's lows, for the moment, we got a three-wave structure. For the moment, we got a first leg down, the bounce. You could take out the lows and come all the way up here to the highs. You got the high volume node from last week, which has been broken, right? Weekly naked point of control breakout. Considering the bullish case, your 50% could get that reaction. Your stop loss is at the golden pocket. Golden pocket is enough. You can hit golden pocket and then move up in a zigzag. It does, that's the double zigzag scenario where we're considering the B for the flat. But if I attempt this long position, if we were to get this set up and I get stopped out here and the price rallies like crazy, I will be ready for the epic short, because there will be a high probability in either double topping or getting a reaction at the weekly, at the naked point of control in the daily. And this trade will pay me that stop loss that I attempted here on the local long position. So we are in bullish momentum. I mean, if we were to get down there, right, we might not even get down there and we might take out the highs anyway, regardless. But it's a setup, right? It's all about creating those internal trading plans. If we come down to sweep up the lows of today, there is another local day trade long speculating on that fourth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take out the highs of today. You got big support, which is that previous week point of control that has been broken and can, provide support. So yeah, definitely would consider this trade. There's two ways in trying to get into this trade, which is just a swing failure pattern, double bottom scenario, or you eye the 50% from this higher low, right? Considering this is your wave 2 and your wave 3 right there. There's two ways in getting into this trade. You either wait for the recovery above the lows of today, you're targeting the highs, or you have your stop loss at the golden pocket. I would prefer to be a little bit good with risk management here. So I would be entering as you do get the double bottom if we were to come down there. Obviously, as we are uptrending, if we do take out the highs already, understanding that this is already a very strong, powerful move that we had today, you would eventually expect the price to, form that fifth wave here and get some kind of a corrective move after taking out either today's highs or the highs from Friday. I mean, this is if it's going to be impulsive, and this is going to be a very, very tricky situation because you formed a very, very strong impulsive move to the upside, and you might just get one quick correction and then the price just really just continues rallying, right? This will turn automatically into an impulse if you take out today's highs, which will be, it will be looking quite bullish. Several ways. We've got lots, this information that we have on this leg up is interesting, looking at the different scenarios that could happen. Muy interesante. That means that everyone will have their stop loss hit when it dives down in a moment. I'm not sure here what you're saying here. Price action doesn't care about lines or 𝗕𝗵𝗆𝗽. Pro tip, boys. Yes, it does. Swing failure pattern. Yesterday. This is all about setups, right? Price action, it does mean a lot, right? Yesterday we talked about this setup that was provided in the Legends trading community. It was the best long setup that was, happening yesterday. We got the reaction from the local lows, entered the trade, stop loss at 93,300, and we're looking for that rally at least to, get up to the highs here. This was this double bottom right over here. That long setup was from here. swing failure pattern, testing the lows of Monday. Look for the rally at least to, you're targeting these highs, which is already a TP1. And then if you get an extra push as you are defensive with your stop already, then, right? So price action doesn't care about lines and that. Of course it does. Come on. Look, look. For example here, this golden pocket, right? We'll see, right? And this can be broken. But without a doubt, we need to understand that looking at history, because technical analysis is purely based on the history price action, and you analyze the waves, the point of controls, trend lines, whatever strategy you are using, and ways of doing the technical analysis. When you see all-time high and a pivot low, the golden pocket is a major level, right? Price action doesn't care about this. Of course it does. It got a major rejection of $10,000 on the previous cycle. Does it need to happen here? No. But you already understand that the price is getting a reaction. We did get rejected. So it all depends on how you trade. But, you got it on the charts, right? You can't lie about this. Somebody here is saying that, lines or technical analysis. So yeah, if you don't like it, you can leave. Manipulation just started. Camilo Vargas. I'm trading with Rend line, high time frame, so I'm not afraid to anything. Absolute legend. So far, I am just playing with MAs, long and short since 77. Absolute epic. Very good. Andy, does B waves get invalidated if it's not a third wave structure, a three wave structure? Yes, it does. Okay, so what you want to see for the flat here, okay, what you want to see for the flat, for the B wave flat is a three wave structure. Okay, however, as you do have a three wave structure here for the moment, you can hit the highs, form a five wave structure here, form a corrective structure here, and then form five waves up here, right? And that automatically would be an ABC three wave structure. And what you would be mapping here is the A, B, and then C down, right? So, that's the thing. Even though if you form a five wave structure here, you can correct down and it's still your A wave, right? And this is why this is going to be very interesting throughout today and tomorrow, right? And a double zigzag is very possible, right? What you want to see is a three wave move down. If you form a three wave move down here, you get to the golden pocket, right? And then you recover in a three wave move up. That comes a double zigzag. If we come down here to the golden pocket from this pivot low to the pivot high, this movement up no longer becomes an impulse. And as it no longer becomes an impulse, if it were to get the rally here, this rally over here has high probability to fail. Only if we do get the leg down here to the golden pocket. Of course, the picture completely changes if you do get that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you form a zigzag move here, then we have a problem. Then, this could be a wave 1, right? And then the price could blast off here in a wave 3, right? So, yeah, all the information that comes next gives you higher probability or lower probability. But I can tell you already, if we were to move down here and then get a bounce, there will be very high probability that this ends up in a three wave structure to then get that movement down to sweep up the lows. So it really depends on the local levels that you hit. If we do get a deep pullback here and then bounce, I will be very, very interested in shorting and eyeing the levels of interest to get into that short position. Of course, you know, it's just a pain in the ass, guys. If you don't like the analysis and looking at the charts and really understanding, you know, where you have the highest probability trading setups, then, you know, eventually you will fail. You could just go simple and say the market's bullish and I'm just looking for longs. You know, just market's bullish. You know, market has been bullish for the last 1 to 2 weeks. And I've been interested in looking for longs, understanding the corrective structures, right? You know, understanding the corrective structures, jumping into longs here at the lows of the levels, just understanding the structure. So, but I like to get out, especially when we consider the higher time frame, right? If I'm longing throughout the last 2 weeks, I'm getting out as soon as the price pumps to the highs. As soon as the price pumps to the highs, you know, I like to get out if I'm day trading, right? I'm just longing the lows of the range. As soon as we get to the highs of the range, I'm out. I mean, really all depends on your trading style. So let's go through the comment section, see what the people, my man, so nice to see you, Andy. You're the legend of trading analysis. Wow. Much love to you, Empire Trades. Much love, my man. Oh, so we can have a 5-wave structure inside of the waves of our B wave. Interesting. So yeah, the thing is, it all depends on the timing, right? You can have 5 waves inside of your A wave. Okay, so if you were to correct down here and then move back up, that's an ABC, right? And then inside of this ABC, it's a 3-wave structure. You can consider all of this price action part of the B wave, right? But you can't have a 5-wave structure in your B wave. B wave has to be a 3-wave corrective structure, regardless if it's a double zigzag, if it's a flat. Interest rate raise is bearish. Let's take a look at the votes that we do have here. Oh, where's the poll? Poll disappeared. Oh no, we have 54% of saying that it's going to be bullish. FOMC will be bullish. 54%. 46% says it's going to be bearish, guys, out of over 600 votes. Absolutely insane. Let's continue here through the comment section, see what the legends are saying. Shall we go through a little bit of news? China confirms plans to begin trade negotiation with United States. People could take this as bullish. China to cut rates by 10 basis points. People will take this as bullish as well. Metaplanet acquires additional 555 BTC, Japanese company buying more Bitcoin. Bullish long term, without a doubt. You know, all bullish news. Bhutan partners with Binance Pay and DK Bank to launch the world's first national crypto tourism payment system. Mass adoption right over here. All bullish. State reserve race update. New Hampshire becomes the first state to enact Bitcoin reserve legislation. Very bullish. You know, finally the states are just piling up here. All right. This is extreme bullishness eventually, right, for the long term for Bitcoin. So it's inevitable that some kind of super cycle is bubbling up, right? Regardless of the TA on the lower time frame, right? Bitcoin is bullish. We did see Florida failing, but I think it's just a matter of time that Florida state does, you know, this is going to be a domino effect. I think all of the states will eventually, you know, just comply, right? I think it's a matter of time that all of the states have the crypto reserve. A lot of US dollar tether printing going on. You would assume that that is more bullish than bearish because people want to, you know, buy Bitcoin and crypto. And you have all of the crypto on exchanges, which is drying up. It's all the data, all the news is mainly bullish for Bitcoin, guys. You know, there's literally out of 100 pieces of news, there might be 4 or 5 bearish news, and 95 out of 100 pieces of news, they're all bullish, right? It's just, they're all mainly bullish. long term. So this is why, you know, considering Bitcoin as a very good is a very good long-term investment, right? I sold 10% of my Bitcoin holdings. It's just 10%. It's just good to be in some cash. I've been buying Bitcoin for years now, and I was thinking about selling a bit more, to be honest, but I'm not selling. You know, most of the trading profits and you know, money that I make from, you know, rents and rest of other businesses trading, I do pile up into Bitcoin, a lot of it. I do pile a lot into Bitcoin. So when you have too much Bitcoin, it's like, you know, maybe considering all the bullishness, you just never want to buy, you never want to sell too much Bitcoin, right? You have that Bitcoin's bullish always, forever, right? Despite any big corrections, you can't be so emotionally attached, right, to the asset, and you need to have cash, right? So, you know, I took that decision here as we were trading in the zone. Any long-term follower knows that I said I sold 5% of my Bitcoin holdings at 90K and another 5% at 100K, just because I've been buying since 2018. So yeah, it's just you need to take some cash, right? You just can't. The perfect moment to sell a bit of the Bitcoin, right? Depending if you bought Bitcoin throughout the last few months, then I would say, you know, just keep buying, right, long term. I don't think a crypto reserve in Florida is smart, says Lance. Yeah, well, I think BTC we can short a scalp 97,731 short scalp. Let's take a look at the local time frame here for the price of Bitcoin. 97, yeah, literally the highs, right, of this pump. Literally the highs of this pump. To short right over here, double top. You know, this is the thing. When you see a nice movement up from the bounce and a big explosive move, which you need to label as your wave 3, taking out this high, you know, you could label it as a wave 5 and look for a pullback down to sweep up the lows, if that were to be the case. So if you reject, there is a possibility of a short here, just to down to the lows. And, you know, once you get that pullback in this region of 50% to the 7/8 Fibonacci, it could be very interesting for a long setup back to the highs, right? 50% golden pocket. And that's just considering the market structure. You know, you're looking at an impulse here. So if they're this short, you need to consider it as a scalp day trade, only to the lows of the range, only the first higher low, your wave 4 basically. And then here, you would consider another move up to take out the highs from Friday, from last Friday, right? So yeah, let's go continue through the comment section, guys. Remember that on weeks, there's only a few spots left. I think there's about 15 left. The first 100 users, I think there's, you know, most of the people have already signed up here throughout this bonus of the last couple of days, but I think there's about 20 or 15 spots left. Anybody that wants $300 tether to trade with, first 100 users that sign up with this new campaign, this is almost over, guys. I won't be talking about this tomorrow. Do get $100 tether bonus that you can use for trading, and you can withdraw the profits from trading. Anybody that is, you know, relatively new, you know, take advantage. This is literally free money. For all of those big players, there's up to $30,000 deposit bonuses, okay? So the more volume you move, the more you trade, you're going to get airdrops up to $30,000 throughout the, you know, the next coming weeks as you do trade. You just need an email and a password to sign up on weeks, and you do get 25% fee reduction, guys, on all of your trades if you sign up with the second link down below in the description, guys. Take advantage. I'm not going to talk about this bonus anymore tomorrow because it's almost finished. Okay, lots of people are already, you know, claiming that bonus. There's only a few spots left. I think there's about 15 or 20, guys. So if you want to take advantage of that, formed a little wick high here to the upside. It was a cheeky little wick move to the upside. That could have been that 5-wave move up here, ABC. It is possible. So yeah, it's going to be looking very interesting throughout the funk minutes. Depending on the price action from here, for the moment, we've only got a 3-wave move up. It's already a possibility that, you know, this could be that the high for a flat. This is why these lower highs are getting cheeky. They're getting cheeky. It's getting wicky. But as explained, I'm looking for that information, right? Regardless, if you take out the high and you correct down, that becomes a 5-wave move to the upside, which will be looking impulsive. The next leg down could be a higher low, and then you get the next leg to the upside. And then this forms your 3-wave structure to then drop down to sweep up the lows, right? This could be it. It's getting a little bit cheeky right now here to form a lower high. You know, could I map this as the B wave? You know, you could already map this scenario as the B wave. And this is why these lower highs, it's getting cheeky at these highs right over here. Anybody that attempted that, I attempted this short, already got stopped out. Was very defensive, and then this just shooted up here. I didn't manage to short this double top right there. So if it were to come down from here, hopefully not, we do continue to the upside. Price locally is looking still bullish. Let's take a look at those votes. Will funk today be bullish or bearish? We have 54% of people saying bullish and 46% saying that it's going to be bearish. Stay cautious if you do have any trades open that are very close to your entry when we do get the Fed press conference, guys, which is going to be in about 4.5 hours from now, okay? Want to be cautious if you have any entries, because it's kind of a stop hunt activity, right? You know, the price could really just shoot up, then down. It could dump and then pump, right? Not the ideal kind of news that you want to trade, because it's going to be nasty, right? It's going to be nasty. I would still take into consideration the daily level and the naked point of control at $98,300. I would still consider this, because depending on what happens here next, if we shoot up with the news and we reject from that pivot, I'm going to jump in the short regardless, because I'm going to put stop loss above the high of the rejection, right? It's just a major level and if it does happen through the news, I will trade it regardless. It's a level on the chart, with news or without news. So if we instantly pump to that level and we reject from it when we have the news, you know, I'm going to be ready on that event. I'll just be ready. Likely be with the Legends trading community on Discord, you know, waiting for the possible scenario, analyzing the local price action that's happened. So yeah, 98,300. You know, you need to be aware that this level could just blast off. If we blast off above this level, we haven't got much levels above us. You know, I would say that we go directly to $101,000. 101, where we have the next daily level. There's really not much levels. A swing failure pattern from this lower high could be another guidance. Only if you swing failure pattern from that lower high. If you blast off above it, then you're not interested. But I would take it into consideration as well. That lower high that we had here from February before the major drop, which is 99,400. And of course, if you blast off through the levels, then higher we go, guys, all-time high. Right? It's just these levels are only guidance. They're only guidance to take into consideration. If you break above them, then you're not interested eventually in taking any short position. You don't want to fight a major rocket, right? So it's just guidance, right? So you can manage risk. Let's go through the comment section here, see what the community are saying. Dump and pump, please, says Ninzo. Better stay out of trades today. That is also a very good option, right? Better stay out of trades today. I mean, if you manage risk and you got a plan ready, then eventually it's okay. You know, if you got a plan ready, it's okay. For the moment, the only long trade setup, I've taken most of the profits from the long trade. I attempted here the short on a double top, but I'm not going to attempt it anymore. It doesn't look like it wants to reject from this zone. But there was a very good successful long trade setup that was provided in the Legends trading community yesterday, which I am entirely out of that position. Did add a little bit to the position, took most of the profits. Just a nice little day trade that was taken, added to the position on that swing failure pattern, added here to the next higher low, and all of the profits have taken. Just got a small little position just in case we take out the highs. But this is day trading, right? It's just a trade from yesterday. Closed most of the position today. Just some day trading scenarios. I mean, this right over here, I did attempt here the local double top right over here, but protected position got wicked out already with this movement. And only I would have got wicked out already with this scenario here. Only double tops, you know. If you, I wouldn't short down here eventually. I wouldn't long or short anything here in this movement. There is that risk of rolling down. There is the risk of actually, you know, pumping to higher levels. Let's go through the comment section. BTC's skyrocket, 93,250 liquidity. Yeah, we got liquidity to the upside, a lot of it. And we got lots of liquidity to the downside, right? $98,000 plus. There is hundreds of millions of short liquidations. This is why the ABC flat is very attractive, right? It is a possible setup that could happen. This is why we talked about it yesterday. You know, there are several movements here taking out the highs. Looking at the extreme bullish case, which is, you know, unlikely in my opinion. It's just an unlikely scenario that we blast off to 102, 103, 104, right? And it just becomes extremely bullish. I think it's unlikely that this does happen. And considering that we do have liquidity, the ABC flats, right, forming that kind of double top from Friday's highs becomes very attractive, understanding the liquidity. So, if, you know, there's lots of liquidity below 93,200. And there's lots of liquidity above 98,000. So this is why your levels are at guidance, right? Friday highs is a guidance. Naked point of control, which is with the daily level at 98,300, is a guidance. You get back up, you get above this level, you're not interested in the short. You get that wick. You know, you need to be pretty damn fast on the rejection. Right, but you need the rejection. You need the rejection to have a stop loss. Because if you short on the pump, I don't know where to put stop loss if you break a level of resistance. Right, that's the situation here. If you try and short based on, you know, the level of guidance, and it's above the guidance, you know, this level is the guide. The main reason why it's a level that's guiding you is because you need the rejection. So you have a stop above the high of the rejection, right? Where you are literally looking for that big pullback down. You need a stop loss, right? You need good risk management. If you break above that level, you don't know where to put stop loss. And as you don't know where to, well, people will just add to the position, or my liquidation is all the way up here or whatever, right? And that's obviously, you have the risk of losing lots of money. So it's, that's why it's important to have these levels on the chart so you can manage risk. You break above, you're not interested. You get the rejection, then you're interested. You can enter, you can manage risk, right? And then you probably got into an epic trade, which is making you 7, 8, 9 risk to reward, depending on your entry, right? You're looking for the lows in the next coming days. You get the point, right? It's all about risk management as well. It's all about risk management, and you need your strategy. You need your levels. Yesterday was, the idea yesterday was looking for a movement to the upside after creating this double bottom to get at least above these highs. Not expecting such a severe pump, but that is just a present, right? Based on yesterday's setup here. The Aiden provided, guiding here the scenario as we were getting the reaction from those local lows at 93,500, the lows of Monday. We're looking for a nice movement up here of $1,000, $1,500. If we get an extra pump this morning for a few thousand, then absolutely epic, right? This is, TP1. We'll leave some position open. And, that's the trade that I got into, and I managed to make some pretty decent profits on this movement, right? Regardless of the amount of resistance that we do have on the higher time frame, the market structure is bullish. We are in a very, very strong uptrend momentum, and shorts become attractive. But, I'm no longer in no shorts. I'm in no short positions. I don't want to get into shorts here. I don't want to add to shorts. I don't want to be in the shorts. I need more information. On this live stream, I provided that information on how the price could develop in the next coming hours. And there are several levels to take into consideration for the short. There's this one right over here. I would speculate on a possible local double top, just because you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could get a deep correction here, sweep up these lows. There is a possible setup. I would be eyeing a possible long position here later on. If that were to be the case, you're moving up in a 5-wave impulse, so you really look for the movement down to be corrective, to possibly form a higher low. Would be interested in another long to take out the high. So all depends on your strategy and how you're looking at the market here, guys. I'm just sharing my my strategy and my opinion on the local movements, right? It's funny because a lot of people think that I'm in massive short positions, or I'm adding to my short position. I'm in no short, but I'm interested in a short position. Got stopped out with a local double top at break even. Just need to be very defensive. Market's uptrending. I got into a long position yesterday. Matter of fact, I got into several long positions here, and I don't need to share my long positions, right? It's a day trading setup. I don't need to continuously share. I got into the long. Look, here it is. I took profit. I don't care about that, right? But people, as I'm talking about, the resistance that we are in right now, throughout the last, it's all about day trading. I mean, if you're a swing trader, you're going to be in long positions here. I'm still in long. What we focus here on the channel is looking for internal setups, right? Internal setups. And if you've been here the last couple of weeks, I don't need to get the videos out, guys. If you've been a legit follower, you know what I'm talking about, right? Based on the long position here, this is corrective. We're looking at the highs to be taken. Also, this scenario, which I still have here somewhere on a folder, looking at all of this to be a sideways corrective move. Higher probability that we take out the highs, looking for a long position here at the value area low of this consolidation. You get the deal, right? We analyzed very carefully this on a video on, last Tuesday, I think it was, between Tuesday and Wednesday, and looking for this scenario to take out the highs. And, the most recent one was this one from yesterday, right? Which I've, already taken most of the profits on the movement up, just realizing that We could, you know, not take out the highs. We could take out the highs and then move down. If you got into any long positions here, you want to take profit at the highs. You know, there will be that event. If you've been longing throughout a week and I'm still long, I'm still long, I'm still long. You're long till you're not, right? So it's important to take profits at the highs when we consider, you know, where we are at the moment. And the possibility of a fifth wave being in already, and the possibilities of the flats. You just, you know, you get the deal here, right, guys? Anyway, I did register with your link 4 days ago, but didn't get the bonus, so I don't think that there are places left. I did check today. I mean, that 4 days ago, this bonus was only started 3 days ago. I am long until 168k, absolute legend. I hope you're long from lower though, right? We're talking about long positions from this range of the last 2 weeks, right? Anybody that has been long in this range, you want to consider taking profits at the highs. Just understanding the probabilities, right, of getting a pullback at some point, right? Because it, you know, like I mentioned yesterday, you know, it would be unlikely to get massive breakout and follow through, which I could be completely wrong, guys, right? You could, you know, can be completely wrong on the scenario, on the analysis of really exploding out, and this fifth wave to the upside has still room to go. I mean, most bullish case scenario is that you have multiple 1-2 setups here, which and you're just going to form your third wave now, right? Which would, you know, this is extreme bull market situation, right? And it kind of would make sense, right? Because I think most of the people have been bearish, especially when we had the stock market crash, right? Stock market crashes bring the best opportunities, guys. And when most of the people are very bearish, which we have been seeing, right, throughout the last few weeks, you know, who knows, right? Bitcoin hits all-time high in 1 week or 2 weeks, right? Imagine. Well, that would be just extreme, massive double 1-2, and then you just get a massive third wave here in the next 1 to 2 weeks, which would be insane, right? We have to say that, is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Is it likely? I don't think so. I don't think it's likely, but this is the perfect situation where, you know, lots of people have been bearish throughout the stock market crash that we had here in April, which did bring a lot of uncertainty and, you know, recession, depression, oh my goodness, right? It's all looking very, very bad. And that's the perfect moment for a massive reversal. So, you know, most of my, you know, I hold a lot of Bitcoin. I do have Bitcoin, right? I'm not going to say how much. I have Bitcoin, and, you know, I would be very happy if we were to get that extreme bullish case scenario. If we were to get back above all-time high in the next coming weeks. So my swing long position is holding Bitcoin, which is just very easy. I'm long until 168k. Yeah, this is the thing, right? Bitcoin is extremely bullish. The amount of bullish news that's out there, guys, is insane. It's just, when I go through X, the macro bullish news is just bullish, bullish, bullish. This is bullish. Metaplanet buying more. MicroStrategy buying more. You know, payment system with, you know, that New Hampshire becomes the first state to enact Bitcoin reserve legislation. This has just happened. The next states are just going to follow through with a domino effect. You know, it's the news for Bitcoin is just incredibly bullish long term. You know, despite any corrections happening, right, or any bear markets, the bounce back up is inevitable. Bitcoin on exchanges hits a record low on supply, on Binance. It's insane that, they are running out of Bitcoin long term, right? You're going to get these little bounces of short-term people selling. I must have been in somewhere around over here. Little bounce. I sold a bit. But I still hold most of the Bitcoin. You need to have that long-term mentality, right? So, yeah. I think as a swing trader, we can short at 97,000. We are so many long. 97,960. That is slightly above the Friday highs. Last Friday highs, if I'm not mistaken here. Yeah, I mean, a double top scenario here is a possibility. It is a possibility that it does create a double top, just because what we're looking at here from the lows of yesterday is a 5-wave move to the upside, right? The problem with your 5-wave move to the upside, your 5th wave can be pretty explosive. You don't know if it's going to double top. You don't know if it's going to extend. If it were to extend and not double top from this high, and you manage to maintain above the highs of last Friday, the best level, I mean, I would take this as a scalp, no longer a swing short position. We got that daily level and naked point of control at 98,300. It could be an aggressive short trade, because that might be where this 5th wave finishes right there. But I will only take it as a scalp, just for a quick pullback, because this will be an impulse. And an impulse means that you could pull back down and just continue to the upside very aggressively, right? So if we take out these highs and we push through, I would still be interested in the short on the rejection. However, I would take it as a scalp. It will no longer be a swing short down to the lows, because it could higher low from here and then move up, right? As we do get this information, you understand the strength that there is, right? This is why, on these movements up, despite the price action looking exhaustive, last week, the 𝗬𝗆 pattern here was the price looks exhaustive. It looks exhaustive. We're going to roll over here, 𝗬𝗆 pattern. We were still bullish here. We were still bullish in this range last week with high probability of taking out the high based on this sideways momentum. There were many reasons why. You had a 3-wave structure here. You hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. There was many reasons that this was going to be a sideways momentum corrective structure to finally take out the high. And we, at the last move that we speculated on was this one right over here, which is on the video from last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, the last movement here to speculate was this one right over here to take out the high. And this is a classic range where a lot of people will be bearish, and it's super crucial to understand how the waves are moving here. And when it does look like it's getting exhausted, when you analyze what's really going on internally here, there's no big rejection impulsive moves, and the bounces are just getting too high. So, you kind of understand, just in classic terms here, you're forming an ascending triangle, right? Instead of just really saying that forming an ascending triangle, it's going to break out, right? Keeping it in simple terms. But I like to really focus on what the heck is going on the 5-minute, 15-minute, right? Really analyzing what the heck's going on here. Triangle, boom, boom, looking for a flat or a zigzag, look for the bounce up. But that's just because I'm addicted on really understanding what the heck is going on the lower time frame, right? You just really need to enjoy what you do, and I do very much. Anyway, can you look at the CVD and what are your thoughts? CVD divergence. We can take a look at CVD divergence depending on what platform are we using. We're looking at Binance. On Binance, we have been forming bullish CVD divergence. Binance US dollar tether pair. This is why the market is pumping. So we got some higher lows on the price action, and the local highs have been taken. Binance being the one of the largest, of course, with volume. We were forming lower lows on the CVD here, forming higher lows on the price action, lower lows on the CVD, and we finally took out the highs here. It did not roll over based on the bullish CVD divergence that we were forming and taking out the local highs. Now, when we do zoom out, do we have any bearish CVD divergence from the highs? We do have ever so slightly bearish CVD divergence from the highs of Friday. So yeah, there are some bearish CVDs. Slightly higher highs. Slightly higher highs here on the CVD. Also, Bybit US dollar tether has bearish CVD divergence from this high. There are higher highs here. On Bybit, I mean, there are bearish CVD divergence. There is bearish CVDs. So yeah, regardless, even though if you do take out the highs, what is very common if you do get bearish CVD divergence, even though you take out the highs, you could be looking for a major pullback after forming those bearish CVD divergence for a double top scenario, right? What leverage do you use, Christian? It really depends. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all about how much capital are you risking on your trade. Leverage, I'm usually on 20-30x leverage, but what I focus is in calculating the risk that I'm getting into, right? Not risking more than 3% on my capital is a must. On average, it's in between 1 and 2. So 1.5-2% is the average of what I risk of capital, right? But leverage, it doesn't matter. Leverage is a tool. You can use 100x leverage as long as you're not burning your account. You can use 200x leverage if you are risking in between 1 and 3% always on your trades. You can use 200x if you want, as long as your stop loss is not losing more than 1 to 3%, right? So leverage is just a tool. You can use as much leverage as you want, as long as you're managing your risk of your account, not burning your account or losing 50% of your account. So leverage doesn't matter. This is just a tool that you use. What's most important is the amount that you're risking on that trade, right? You can use 50x, 100, you can use 5,000x. As long as if you get stopped out, you're not losing more than 3% ever of your account. Never cross the line. Never cross the line. As soon as you start losing 10% of your account or 20% of your account on a trade, that's too much, right? That's too much. So you can use as much leverage as you want. What's most important is the percentage of what you're risking of your account. Boring 200x cross, no stop loss, says Woo. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it all depends on your risk appetite, right? You got to risk it for the biscuit. We either lose everything or win everything and make a 10x, right, of our account. If you trade like that, it's a matter of time that you do lose your money, right? It's happened to me many times in the past, right, where you just go all in, add to the position. My worst story was in 2019, where I lost $20,000 in one single trade. And back then it was a lot of money, right? I was accumulating Bitcoin and, I lost $20,000 and that was a big hit for me, right? It was almost, back in the day, it was almost about 2 Bitcoin on average, right? And that for me was a big hit. So you kind of learn of all of these lessons, right? I learned that too already. Yeah. There's no fast money to be made here. It's slowly, consistent. Get into a few stop losses. That's fine. Losing a bit of your account is fine. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But you look to plan your trades and slowly grow your money. It's very, very slow. It's very, very slow. Profitable traders make very small amounts consistently. There's no big, massive winning trades that you make a 10x of your net worth in 2 months, right? It's just there's no sustainability behind that. If you risk that much, the market will get you and you will drain your account, right? So it's very small, consistent profits. I see why you say tight stop loss. How do you interpret on-chain metrics like SOPR or MVRV score in the current cycle compared to the previous one? Wow, a long time since I haven't checked that. This kind of data, I haven't checked it for a long time. Hello from Thailand. 𝗕𝗶𝗿𝗽, how are you doing? Much love. My stop loss are liquidation, says Axel. Yes, I know, my man. I've been there. Add to the position. I mean, this is the danger right now. I'm interested in short positions, but I'm in no shorts, right? I'm interested. I have some levels. I have some scenarios. I've only been day trading long positions here throughout the last, 2 weeks. The latest one being this one yesterday, that was provided in the Discord. And but I'm interested in shorts. I did have an attempt here, guys. Got stopped out at break even once we got this drop down, and not interested at the moment. Market's just pushing to the upside. I want other levels to be hit, and I do understand that this could reject from here, but it's not interesting anymore. If the price didn't reject already, not interested. This could push to the high. So just understanding that the risk is not worth it. So we're just very defensive trading, right? Very, very defensive. I'm interested in a short, guys, a lot. And the best levels have been provided here on YouTube, right? 98,300 or the highs of Friday is going to be the guidance, and just manage risk very, very well. If this trade does play out, we could be potentially looking for the sweep of the lows. I mean, that's a movement of $5,000. It's a big move down. You just need to understand the risk of breaking out, right? If it breaks out, you do not want to be in a short trade if you are above these levels of guidance, right? If we break above 98.3, then we're probably going to $101,000, $102,000, right? We're just going to continue the momentum. This ends up being a 1-2, possible 1-2 here, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, and we end up not finishing that fifth wave, and the most bullish case scenario happens where it's just continue the uptrend. So no shorts for the moment. I have my levels and I have my plan for the short. Now let's wait and see if those levels are respected. If not, higher we go, and no shorts taken. Right? So yeah, anyway, I like the chat about risk and stop loss. Stay grounded. Absolutely, always. There's no fast money here to be made. Let's keep it real, right? Keep it real. Whoever wants to make fast money in trading, they will lose money fast. Let's keep it that way. If you're here to make fast money, this is trying to make another wage, right? It's an extra wage, and you just need to realize that you're just going to make slow, consistent profits if you plan your every single trade, right? And stop losses is part of the game, right? I get get stopped out every week. It's just part of the game. It's inevitable. You know, but you look for those big swings, right? So the most interesting swing, if we were to get a reaction here at these levels, well, the risk to reward can be 6-7, right? 6-7 to 1. I mean, yesterday's trade was a surprise. You know, we're looking for a 3-4 to 1 risk to reward from that double bottom to get to the highs. You leave some open, such as 30%, 40%. It really depends on your, you know, if you're bullish enough. I did leave, you know, a small percentage open. I did add to the position today, but took most of the profits, just realizing the bearish case. You know, just happy to take those profits from that double bottom from yesterday. Would I feel sorry for taking most of the profits in this area if we continue up? Not really. I would just say, well, you know, so be it, right? It's so many different styles of trading. Shorting is so less stressful than sitting in a long. Well, the good thing, you know, the thing about shorting the market, it's profitable much faster, right? Because when the market decides to drop, it drops aggressively, right? It takes, you know, it takes 2-3 weeks to get up here, and it gets down in 2 days, right? The entire move up takes 2 weeks, right? Or 3. And the movement down might happen in 1 to 2 days, right? You know, sometimes the drop is so aggressive, and if you do manage to short at certain levels of resistance with good risk, and you are defensive, then you know it's very, very easy to hold a short when the market breaks down aggressively, because it just happens so fast, and the price really leaves your entry zone super fast, right? It's like boop, and then you're like, okay, I can be extreme. I run a free trade right now, right? Markets are pumping. Bitcoin's pumping. We are really looking to take out those highs. It is trying anyway. Slowly grinding. Very, since we start the stream, very, very slow momentum to the upside. But it is pumping up. VWAP not doing much really here. VWAP not doing much. Got back above the VWAP here. Managed to hold it as support. And just slowly grinding to the upside. It seems like that this could be a fifth wave on the formation. It is trying anyway. Double 1-2 here. Maybe break out and claim those highs. Possible scenario at the moment. Hey mate, watching you every night, loving it. Hit the like, people. Fernando, much love to you, brother. Get that like button to 400 at least. Not shorting now. I explained the plan here for the short, and it's going to be difficult if we do manage to create one more high here on this pump, I have to say, because all of this structure since yesterday's lows, the map is going to change here, guys. The map will change pretty aggressively, because we have a 5-wave move to the upside from yesterday's lows. And if we have a 5-wave move to the upside, this means one thing. This is either a wave 1 or a wave, a wave A. It could be a wave A, and we're forming a larger corrective move. But regardless, it's going to be looking quite impulsive, right? It's an impulsive move up. You don't want to see a 5-wave move up for a B wave. So the flat idea here, unless you move up, you correct, and you take out the high later on, and all of it forms a 3-wave structure throughout today and tomorrow, then it might be looking interesting for the short. But as we get a 5-wave move up here throughout yesterday's lows, it's looking impulsive. So I need more information. The short doesn't look too attractive. Shorting the 5th wave right now could double top from Friday's highs or the naked point of control at 98,200, but I would take it as a scalp, because there would be a high chance that you form a higher low here. just because you moved up from yesterday's lows in an impulsive price, very aggressive impulsive move. So the information that we have today looks very bullish. So yeah, in those shorts, if I were to get into that short here, depending if we take out Friday highs and reject, or hit the naked point of control at 98,300, which we have a daily level also, we need to reject from that level. So only short would be rejecting from this high, or the highs of Friday, also very possible. And it would just be a short scalp. You can be extremely defensive with your stop loss once you reject, right? There's no limit shorts in this level. It's all about looking at the price action, and on the rejection, getting into a short position as you reject, not as you pump, right? Because if you pump through the levels, then, higher we go. You can't short as you're pumping. You need to reject and then short with the rejection. Right? It's a market order, basically. How come there is no 5 wave in your third wave? How come there is no 5 waves in your third wave? What do you mean on this one? Well, this is like, you need to go to the very low time frame for this. Yeah, I mean, this, when you take into, there's a limit to going to the lower time frame, right? I'm not sure if you're asking, there's no 5 waves here. I'm sure there is if you go to the 15-second time frame, right? There is a limit, okay, to go to the lower time frames. You can't zoom in at the 1 second time frame to look for 5 waves, right? There's a limit, which the limit, crosses 3 to 1 minute time frame. If you're going to start looking for waves on the 1 second time frame, then yeah, you're wasting your time, right? Forget about looking at waves here on the 1 second time frame, because you're just going to go, it's no. Right? Keep it at the, even the 5 minute, 3 minute, it gets very aggressive already, looking at the waves, right? I'm not sure if you're really talking about this third wave, but I'm sure that if you go on the 15 seconds, 1 second, you can figure out a 5 wave move to the upside. I'm not sure if that was the question, but my goodness. This is a big impulsive move that can be labeled as your third wave most commonly, right? Because it's the strongest move. And then eventually what you look for is, the fourth wave, and then your last wave up to possibly top out at some point here, right? I mean, fifth waves can be expanding as well. So it really depends on the reaction of the levels. Fifth waves can be longer than your third wave, as long as the third wave is not the shortest. So if you are speculating on getting into a short on the fifth wave, you need to have your levels well marked up, which is, in this case, the naked point of control and the daily level at 98.3. But you need to be aware of expanding fifth waves. Fifth waves can be longer than your third wave. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes. And the fifth wave can go to, you name it, right? Longer than your third wave. So you get the deal. You could go very, very high. As long as your third wave is not the shortest, fifth wave can be very explosive. Andy, I'm scared. 𝗬𝗎, much love. My stop loss are Binance email notifications. Axel, much love to you, brother. Look at the BTC dominance. I will, sir. Let's take a look. S&P 500 looks very interesting. I think it's a matter of time that the S&P does get to the highs. The only bigger risk here for the S&P would be getting a kind of a double zigzag down. But all of this, for the moment, with the recovery that we got, this movement down looks part of a correction, regardless if it's going to be longer, if it's going to take out the lows or not, or if it's going to go sideways. S&P 500, well, you know the deal, right? It's a massive uptrend. right? So looks like that the highs, based on the bounce that we had, we're looking for another high in the next coming months on the S&P 500. No recession, no bear market. Bitcoin dominance, my goodness, this is crazy. The Bitcoin dominance is absolutely flying. It's crazy. I'm not really focusing on altcoins. I'm buying Ethereum every Monday. Ethereum chart looks very bullish. Ethereum chart looks very bullish. There was an upgrade today on Ethereum. Is it Protos or something like that? There's an upgrade on Ethereum. Bitcoin dominance is just going through the roof, not stopping. Bitcoin's the #1 cryptocurrency, and there's no more to it. But what is interesting about Ethereum is the 3-wave corrective structure that we formed on the previous cycle. This is what is very interesting on Ethereum. And what is more interesting is the movement to the upside, overlapping, right? In this case, your wave B. This is a correction, especially when you get this price action. If this would have formed one more low, then you have a strong impulsive move down. You would say, oh my goodness, the chances here of coming down to the lows are high. But the fact that Ethereum moved down here in a 3-wave structure, and you have all of this momentum to the upside in a double zigzag, if you wish. Yeah, I mean a double zigzag. You got a zigzag here. You got the correction and another zigzag move to the upside, forming your wave X. So you got a W right there. Zigzag move down, double zigzag in your wave X. This no longer looks impulsive, meaning that you're looking to take out the highs at some point, all-time highs. And then you have the flat structure right over here in your wave Y. So all of this is a multi-year correction. You already hit the points, the 0.618. You could go lower, but obviously this is another target, but that's -800. Yeah, it looks very interesting. And when you take into consideration the flat, yeah, it's almost 1.618 extension is the risk here for this flat. Very aggressive move down. This could be a regular flat, which has hit the regular targets for the flat. This is where you're getting the reaction. The 1236, 1382 extension. It can be a regular flat. You're already getting a reaction. So in my opinion, either, Ethereum recovers from here, or it creates one more low to get to below $1,000, which would be a great buying opportunity in my opinion. But overall, what we're looking at is Ethereum recovering to all-time high in the next coming months. This is a multi-year corrective move. Ethereum looks bullish. And it all has to do with this pullback. It all has to do with this movement down that has been overlapped, which automatically converts this into a multi-year correction. So yeah, Ethereum is bullish. That is for sure long term, right? It's just double top BTC. Yeah, BTC just about to take out those highs from today. In my opinion, it's either a double top. Preferably you do take out Friday highs, or it even extends to the naked point of control and the daily at 98,300. Very valid shorting setups. Double top. Today's highs for a double top would be aggressive, but it's possible as well. You can manage very well here the trading setup on the rejection. I would remain a little bit patient. Friday's highs would be more interested. If you maintain above Friday highs, then the naked point of control in the daily at 98,300, and if you cross those levels, you could be forming an expanding fifth wave here. So we want to be cautious if you don't reject from the levels. If you maintain above the levels, you do not want to be in the short, just in case, you know, this fifth wave really goes to 99k, right? You just want to be very, very cautious with the scenario here with the price action. QE will fly, baby, fly. QE, quantitative easing, we will fly, baby, fly. Yeah, make sure to hold on strong to your Bitcoin holdings, that is for sure, for the long term. Legends, remember, I'm not sure if you are going to be eligible here for the bonus on weeks, because maybe, or you know, we've got already over 100 users. There might be a few spots left. Anybody that hasn't signed up already, there is that $100 tether for free. I'm not sure if you're the latest ones. You still have the deposit bonus of $30,000. The more you trade, the more airdrops you're going to get, and you get 25% fee reduction, guys, with that second link down below in the description. Take advantage, because the 25% fee cut is already very attractive as well. You just need an email and a password to sign up on weeks, guys. Not much more. If you are in the Legends trading community, I will be providing some local updates later on to analyze very carefully this market structure to see where the next highest probability trading setups could lie. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Stay cautious when you're trading with the news coming out in a few hours. Much love to everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.